I really like Duke. I like what Coach Cutcliffe has done. He's recruited very well. It's not like as if he's had one really good class and then a couple of decent classes. He has been recruiting very well there. So he's really reloading, not rebuilding. He's doing a great job there. And again, I agree with you. They're probably going to be picked fourth, maybe in that division. But guess what? It wouldn't surprise me to see him finish second, like they always done.
I picked him second, but but here's the thing about Duke, and having said all that, this is an important year for Duke, I think, because if you remember back in '06 when Wake Forest won the ACC championship, the next year they came back with pretty much the same team and won 8 games and went to a nice bowl, and I think they beat UConn in the bowl in Charlotte, whatever it was called back then.
Meineke Bowl or something like that.
Something like that. And then they went the next year and they won 7 and went to the Military Bowl. And then they fell off the face of the earth. Once that core kind of came and went, it just they became Wake again. And so Duke is at that point now. Is it a good class? Is it a good group? Or is it a good program? And I think by, this year they could establish that longevity, that this is a program, not just a good team, by putting together another good season and kind of having positions that they have to fill and bringing guys along that are just as good.
I think the key is that you said they have 2 really good running backs. They have a really good offensive line. Well, guess what? That's going to be able to hide an inexperienced quarterback a lot of times. I was going to say now
they've got a top defense too. Last year they had one of the I think outside of Louisville maybe they were either like the 2nd or 3rd ranked defense in the conference last year.
Yeah, which is surprising because Cutcliffe is known more as an offensive mind, but guess what? He's put together a really good defense, and I think the running game and the defense that they have is going to be able to get them a lot of wins. And I think, again, I agree with you, they're going to finish probably 2nd in that division, which is not a bad thing to do. Granted, that division is kind of helter-skelter, but second's not a bad thing to see them in a bowl.
And the other thing that you have to remember about Duke this year, too, is their cross-divisional schedule. They don't play Florida State. They don't play Clemson.
Wow.
That's big.
That can move them right up. The other thing that we've already mentioned his name, but when you've got the football team of Duke, when you've got Coach Cutcliffe calling the shots at practice and doing what he does, the man just knows how to motivate. He is very good at his job. That's why he came to Duke. And that's why he's going to be there for a while, I think.
Well, he's already
good.
turned down his dream job. Right. He was offered the Tennessee job before Dooley got it, and he turned it down. And there's something to be said for that because you go to the SEC, you go to a job like Tennessee, just as an example, and they expect you to win. You better win championships. You better be relevant. You better be able to beat Alabama and Auburn and all those teams. And at Duke, if you win 8 games a year, contend for an ACC championship, win one every now and then, or a divisional championship every now and then, they're going to erect a statue of you and name the stadium after you.
You do that down in Clemson or Florida State, and you'll get run out.
Yeah,
that's the point. All right, got a couple more minutes before the next break. Eric McLean, the local Jack Britt kid, now playing for the Clemson Tigers, joined us right here, and we'll hear the whole interview next week. What was your my first impression was how much he's changed.
Oh my goodness!
I wanted to measure my arm against his arm, and I was just too embarrassed.
He said he's gained 65 pounds.
It's
I think
more than that. It's gotta be more.
Well, he was a tight end when he was at Jack Britt. He was a tight end the first year at Clemson. He looks like an offensive guard now. He said he ate 6 meals a day. Now, see here, I eat 6 meals a day too. And I've probably gained about that much too, but unfortunately he's about 6'7", and I'm about 5'9". So
and if we tried to push the defensive lineman around,
and then the other thing too is when he gets done with his playing career, I guarantee you he swages back down to about 225. Dave Harding from Duke, he's now a member of the media. He was an offensive lineman 2 years ago. He weighed almost 300 pounds, and now he looks like he's weighs less than I do.
I was gonna say, the McLean kid, like I said, I remember covering him in high school. He was like 225 pound, like tight end, and he was amazing.
Yeah, ask Hal about the game that he had against Hope County.
He said that was his highest scoring receiving game, and he was the leading receiver in the game as tight end. And I remember calling it because he would catch a pass, he'd rumble, bumble, flatten somebody, and then just get up and go, do it again. Come on, let's
Correct
go.
me if I'm wrong, but didn't he punt at Jack Britt also?
I think he did as well.
I think he was he may have been.
And he was a great athlete. He still is a great athlete. It's just that, and plus he said he's gonna be starting left guard. Starting right guard is a former Richmond player in Tyrone Crowder, and Tyrone was like 340 pounds at Richmond, and now he's down to like 280. So he's lost a lot of weight
Because of the quarterback, right, Brett? They want those guys to be able to get out and move because of the Clemson quarterback.
Yeah, well, Deshaun Watson is going to be very mobile, especially if his knee is 100%. But I got to ask you, you mentioned, okay, so we got a Jack Britt guy playing right guard for Clemson.
Left guard.
You got a Richmond kid playing right guard. Why are these guys at Clemson, and why aren't they at Carolina State, Duke, East Carolina, or Wake?
You know who's funneling all them guys
What's
to
the
Clemson?
deal here?
Used to be the coach at Hope County, used to be at Richmond County.
I'm not saying anything about Leon, though.
I'm not saying anything about Leon Hope either.
I'm not saying anything about that.
But I mean, to me, that's because when he was at Hope, there were kids talking about going to Clemson.
Yeah.
They wanted to go to Clemson. And I mean, Earl Wolf was there, but Clemson didn't offer him.
I was going to say, because as a matter of fact, his son Patrick was the head coach at Rockingham Middle School. He just got bumped up to the 9th grade academy.
Oh.
So Patrick's going to be out there. And Leon was just out there at the 7-on-7 last week. I just saw him out there again. So that doesn't surprise me, and actually Clemson is doing a great job kind of picking some really good recruits out of North Carolina for some reason.
Well, but it's not just Clemson. I mean, look at Georgia. Look at Tennessee. I mean, it's everybody, and actually, to Dave Doran's credit, and also to a lesser extent Larry Fedora, but you've got the local coaches are doing a better job of keeping the local kids local. I mean, you look at NC State's recruiting class this year; they got the 2 best running backs in the state of North Carolina this year, and the best defensive linemen, and like I said, Carolina has got some of the top kids as well. Not as many are leaving, but still, the cream of the crop is still kind of matriculating down south and east and west and.
Which again, I don't understand, because I think North Carolina and NC State are doing a great job at least selling their program, because again, they get guys in the NFL. Both of them do a really good job.
Yep.
For some reason, they're still looking towards SEC schools or looking at Clemson, which some people could say is just a SEC team without actually being in the SEC.
Well, anyway, I mean, I think for sure Eric McLean is going to be an NFL prospect. There's no doubt in my mind.
Well, let's just put it this way: he is more of an NFL prospect as an offensive guard than he would have been as a tight end.
Yeah, because maybe you need a little more height than
Well, you look at, and if actually Clemson has a history of sending Fayetteville tight ends to the NFL. Dwayne Allen from Terry Sanford, and but you look at Dwayne Allen and how he's built, and you look at Eric McLean and how he's built, and Eric is built more like an offensive guard.
Yeah, a little more ground zero.
I mean, even before he gained the weight, he was just not as athletic looking, not as run after the catch kind of guy, that Dwayne Allen is.
All right, real quick, I guess did we even talk any about NC State? I talked a little bit
Which
about
is
Mike
shocking.
Rose in the open, and of course Jacoby Brissett was here, and we did not get to talk to Jacoby.
I actually did.
Okay,
so,
give us a little bit from Jacoby. What is he expecting out of this season?
Well, Jacoby is he's very excited. Everybody's very excited. Shoot, we heard that word about 160 times today. But Jacoby was talking about how the momentum of last year has really not worn off through spring practice, through off-season training. They really are energized by the success at the end of last season. There are some concerns about the receiver position, but the fact that Matt Days is such a good receiver out of the backfield, and that David J. Greenidge is a tight end who is a pass-catching tight end first, really kind of helps that receiving core. I think you may see one of the freshman running backs get moved to a slot receiver.
Well, they do like to move them around a little bit.
But there's a lot of optimism around State. But here's the thing about State, and considering that they won 3 games the year before, the 5-game improvement was one of the best in the country, and you got to give them high marks for that. But who did State beat last year? They beat 4 non-conference opponents that were very weak, and they basically beat teams in the ACC that were on their level or below. Okay,
So they
the
gotta
Syracuse
take
is the
that
Wake
step.
Forest, and okay, they did beat UNC, but again, UNC had a worse record than State did. So now, what State needs to do to take that next step, and to, like you said with Mike Rose, when you asked him what Dave Doran had told him, in the offseason about this year, and he said, "Well, you won 8 games last year, but why didn't you win 10?"
Yeah, it wasn't. It should have been 10. Or
Take that next step. You've got to be able to beat one of the top teams in your division. You've got to beat Florida State. You've got to beat Clemson. You've got to beat Louisville.
And
you got to be able to start beating those teams. Otherwise, you're going to finish 8 wins again this year. And yeah, it's going to look good. But I mean, who's their non-conference game? Do you have the schedule here?
No, I don't.
I mean, they play Troy. They play Eastern Kentucky. They play
back of the media guide.
South Alabama and Old Dominion. Is that the 4 non-conference games?
I don't know.
Yeah, Troy, Eastern Kentucky, at Old Dominion, out South Alabama.
Okay, so there's 4 right there. All right, and so you go 4-4 in the ACC, but you beat Wake Forest, you beat Syracuse, you beat I don't know who else is on the schedule, but again, you win 8 games, and you're an NC State fan. You're going to be happy for now, okay? But after a while, in a year or so, you're going to say, okay, well, we're 8-5, but so what? Who did we beat? And is it really that good of a season? That's what they've got to do. They've got to take that next step by being able to beat one of the top teams and kind of validate it. And like I said, if there's ever a year that it can be done, this is it, especially with all the veteran talent State has coming back on both sides of the ball.
And that Clemson's coming to rock.
Correct.
So
Correct.
we got to go to
All right,
break.
we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk to maybe David Glenn. He knows more about the ACC than idiots like us, so we'll see what he's got to say, what his takeaways from the ACC Media Kickoff week here are, and we'll be back. This is the Sports Blast on Sunny 94.3 AM.